These young men were receiving training outside a stadium in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. They are the new recruits of the armed militia who support the Congolese army to fight the M23 rebel group. Democratic Republic of the Congo, or DRC, is no stranger to civil conflicts. This time, the M23 rebel group made a surprising gain by taking control of Goma, the largest city in eastern Congo. This is a major blow to the Congolese government. Over 700 people were killed, around 3,000 injured in the ongoing clashes. Millions of people have fled their homes. But what's behind these deadly fightings? Hello and welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Let's connect the dots of the ongoing conflict in Congo. Democratic Republic of the Congo is a country located in Central Africa. Congo has been plagued by conflicts for decades, and a key player in the latest resurgence of violence is the M23 rebel group. After capturing Goma, the M23 group is now pushing south into the neighboring South Kivu province. It's an attempt to expand their area of control in the country's east. Who are the M23 and why are they fighting? The M23, meaning March 23rd movement, emerged in 2012. They claim to fight for the rights of the Congolese Tutsis, a minority group they argue is marginalized by the government. They say government has not honored a 2009 peace deal that was supposed to integrate the Tutsis into the army and administration. However, the issue doesn't seem to be that simple, especially when money is involved. Did you know your phone might be linked to the conflict in Congo? Let me tell you how. Smartphones contain a small amount of metal called tantalum, which is often mined in eastern Congo, where the war is happening. Tantalum, extracted from coltan ore, is crucial for the capacitors in your phone's battery. It can store a high charge and operate in wide temperature range, perfect for smartphones, laptops, and even electric vehicles. While tantalum is mined in other countries like Rwanda, Brazil, Nigeria, a significant portion, at least 40%, comes from the Congo. The US Department of Commerce says Congo has mineral resources worth $24 trillion, but most of these resources are still untouched. Despite being rich in natural resources, many people in Congo are very poor. In fact, 60% of the country's 100 million people live in poverty. The fighting over these valuable resources has made the country unstable. Now let's look at the situation. The M23 rebel group has taken control of Goma, a city that's a crucial hub for mining industry. Goma is also located on the border with Rwanda. This means the M23 now controls the key mining areas. The Congolese government argues that M23 is a proxy for Rwanda, seeking to expand its influence and control over Congo's vast mineral resources. However, M23 has dismissed claims of Rwandan involvement in mineral exploitation in M23 controlled areas.
People kept talking about resources, but in the areas we control, I have not seen a single company that is industrially mining minerals. They talked about smugglers, but I haven't seen anything. These are all artisanal mining operations, and I have not seen a single Rwandan, not a single Rwandan. So I don't know how exactly are they looting.
Rwanda has consistently denied supporting the M23, but United Nations experts, the DRC government, United States and France have all presented evidence of Rwandan military support, including weapons, logistics, and even troops fighting alongside the rebels. A UN report indicates that up to 4,000 Rwandan soldiers were operating in the DRC. The roots of this conflict are intertwined with the 1994 Rwandan genocide. The massacre of approximately 800,000 people, mostly Tutsis by Hutu extremists, led to a massive refugee crisis, with many Hutus fleeing to what is now the DRC. The influx of refugees heightened ethnic tensions in eastern Congo. Why has Rwanda sent troops into Congo? Rwanda says it's because of the Hutu groups like FDLR, The FDLR has members who were involved in the Rwandan genocide. Rwanda sees the FDLR as a threat to their country and to Tutsi people in Congo. They also accuse the Congolese government of supporting the FDLR, a claim that Congo rejects. Rwanda has stated they will not stay out of the DRC until FDLR threat is neutralized. Congo has demanded international sanctions to stop Rwanda.
The world or the international community cannot not react on what Rwanda is doing in the eastern part of DRC. They've been killing peacekeepers from United Nations. They killed soldiers from SADC. They are killing population, bombing hospital, etc. And all this was happening during the day. How come the international community cannot take a strong position, a strong decision, not only to condemn, but to stop what Rwanda is doing?
Eastern Congo is facing a dire humanitarian crisis. 4 million people are already displaced. United Nations has documented horrific cases of sexual violence committed by the army and armed groups.
Since the start of the crisis, bombs have struck at least 2 IDP sites, causing civilian casualties. We have also documented summary executions of at least 12 people by M23 between the 26th and the 28th of January. Our office has also documented cases of conflict-related sexual violence by the Army and the allied Wazalendo fighters in Kalahe territory. We are verifying reports that 52 women were raped by Congolese troops in South Kivu, including alleged reports of gang rape.
The situation is so bad, the aid groups can't deliver vital supplies because the airport is closed and the roads are blocked. Hospitals are overwhelmed, operating at double their capacity. What you can see on your screen is mass burial conducted under the watch of M23 fighters. With Goma largely cut off from water and power, residents are forced to walk for hours just to get water from Lake Kivu. Many civilians, desperate to escape the violence, have fled to Rwanda seeking refuge. The conflict in DRC is a complex web of rebel groups, ethnic tensions, and the struggle for control of incredibly valuable resources. It's a crisis that demands attention, and it's a crisis that needs a solution. Amidst the fragile ceasefire in Gaza and the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, another major global conflict is on the horizon. At least, that's what it appeared to be. Here's what happened. First, US President Donald Trump announced punitive tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China. The 3 biggest trading partners then vowed to respond. A potential trade war of this magnitude threatens to destabilize the global economy. And then came the characteristic Trump U-turn. Few hours before the tariffs were to be enforced, in a dramatic development, President Donald Trump agreed to temporarily pause tariffs on goods imported from Mexico and Canada after reaching separate agreements with them. The tariffs on China, however, are slated to go into effect. The American tariff flip-flop started with President Donald Trump ordering sweeping tariffs on goods from Mexico, Canada, and China, demanding they staunch the flow of fentanyl and illegal immigrants into the United States. In 3 executive orders, Trump imposed 25% tariffs on Mexican and most Canadian imports and 10% on goods from China starting February 4th. Trump declared a national emergency under International Emergency Economic Powers Act, citing the extraordinary threat from fentanyl and illegal immigration. The act gave Trump, in his second week of his second term in the White House, the fastest path to imposing tariffs.
We're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in. We're talking about a tariff of 10% on China based on the fact that they're sending fentanyl to Mexico and Canada. The tariffs are going to make us very rich, and very strong, and we're going to treat other countries very fairly. But if you think about it, other countries charge us tariffs. We don't charge them tariffs, and it's about time that that changed.
Mexico and Canada, the top US trading partners, immediately vowed retaliatory tariffs, while China said it would challenge Trump's move at the World Trade Organization and take other countermeasures. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said his country will retaliate against President Trump's new tariffs with 25% levies on a raft of US imports. Trudeau warned US citizens that Trump's tariffs would raise their grocery and gasoline costs, potentially shutting down auto assembly plants and limiting supplies of goods such as nickel, potash, uranium, steel, and aluminium. He urged his own citizens to forego travel to the US and to boycott US products.
First, I want to speak directly to Americans, our closest friends and neighbors. This is a choice that, yes, will harm Canadians, but beyond that, it will have real consequences for you, the American people. As I have consistently said, tariffs against Canada will put your jobs at risk, potentially shutting down American auto assembly plants and other manufacturing facilities. They will raise costs for you, including food at the grocery store, gas at the pump. They will violate the free trade agreement that the President and I, along with our Mexican partner, negotiated and signed a few years ago.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said she was instructing her economy minister to implement retaliatory tariffs. She also appealed to Mexican immigrants in the US to return home.
This measure of 25% tariffs has effects for both countries, but it has very serious effects for the economy of the United States, as it is going to greatly increase the cost of all the products that are exported from Mexico to the United States. It's going to have 25% more cost. Mexico does not want confrontation. We start from the collaboration between neighboring countries. To our Mexican brothers in the United States, I want to tell you that here is your president and an entire people to defend you. If you wish to return to Mexico, here we embrace you.
China also firmly opposed the US decision to impose an additional 10% tariffs on goods imported from China. China slapped tariffs on some US imports in a swift response to new US duties on Chinese goods, renewing a trade war between the world's top two economies. China will file a lawsuit with the WTO and take corresponding countermeasures to firmly safeguard its rights and interests. The statement also called on the United States to view and deal with its domestic issues, such as fentanyl, in an objective and rational light, rather than repeatedly threatening other countries with tariffs. The United States is the largest goods importer in the world. Let's take a look at United States trade volumes with three of its biggest trade partners, Mexico, Canada, and China, and the large trade deficits that President Trump is seeking to overcome. In 2023, at the top, US total trade with Mexico stood at $797 billion, the net imports at $475 billion, and the trade deficit at $152 billion. US total trade with Canada stood at $772 billion, the net imports at $418 billion, and a deficit of $64 billion. America's trade with China stood at $573 billion, net imports at $426 billion, and a deficit of a whopping $279 billion. Together, Mexico, China, and Canada supply over a third of goods imported into the United States, totaling more than $1 trillion annually. Since the 1990s, Canada and Mexico have been two of United States' strongest trade partners, largely due to North American Free Trade Agreement. The agreement removed most tariffs on traded goods and established mechanisms to eliminate regulatory and other trade barriers, further integrating the three economies. The legacy of integration is likely to be impacted by the new tariffs. Trump's tariff net is likely to expand in the coming days to target the European Union.
Well, the European Union charges us 20% plus a VAT tax, called a VAT tax, very similar, and it costs us an absolute fortune. We are treated so badly, so we'll be doing something very substantial with the European Union. We're going to bring the level up to where it should be.
Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz hoped for better partnership with the United States and emphasized that it was important not to divide the world with new trade barriers.
Globalization, the worldwide exchange of goods and commodities, has proven to be a great success story that has created prosperity for us all. In the United Kingdom and Germany, in the United States, but also in many other parts of the world. That's why it's important that we don't divide up the world now.
Experts fear the situation will deteriorate if the trade war escalates.
Actions taken by the U.S. government, we're gonna increase the overall economic uncertainty in the world. There are gonna be quite some market volatility coming in because we understand that actually U.S. threaten the trading partners that if they retaliate, U.S. will gonna impose even higher tariffs on those countries.
I think it's fair to say that this is a lose-lose trade war. Both US consumers and also Canadian and Mexican households stand to lose.
President Donald Trump acknowledged the sweeping tariffs that he has imposed on Mexico, Canada, and China may cause short-term pain for Americans as global markets reflected concerns the levies could undermine growth and reignite inflation. And then, at the 11th hour, US President Donald Trump suspended his threat of steep tariffs on Mexico and Canada, agreeing to a 30-day pause in return for concessions on border and crime enforcement with two neighboring countries. US tariffs on China are still due to take effect. Both Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said they'd agreed to bolster border enforcement efforts in response to Trump's demand to crack down on immigration and drug smuggling. That would pause 25% tariffs due to take effect on Tuesday for 30 days. The tariff war scare jolted global markets. US equity futures rose and currencies swung to and fro in big ranges. The decision led to a surge in US equity futures, while the dollar reversed gains on Mexico's peso and Canadian dollar. Investors scrambled to keep up with sudden changes in President Trump's trade policy. If the current uncertainty in the US trade policies continue, the notion of a unified global economy will be undermined. Instead, fostering an environment of economic isolationism and protectionism where nations prioritize their own interests over collective cooperation. And the economic shockwaves are likely to be felt far and wide, including at home in America. That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Shubhendu Ghosh signing off. Take care. Stay safe.